Palantir is one of those rare stocks that can make both the bulls and the bears sound completely reasonable. The bulls point to explosive growth, serious margins, and a product that is clearly landing in the real world. The bears point to a valuation that still looks like it was assembled by someone who has never heard the phrase, "math has feelings too." And what keeps Palantir at the center of the debate is that the business keeps producing numbers that almost look impossible for a company this large. Michael Burry's argument, as we saw recently, is not really that Palantir is a bad company. It is that great companies can still be terrible purchases if the market has already priced in a flawless future. Reuters reported that Burry took bearish positions on Palantir and Nvidia and separately warned of an AI bubble, while Reuters commentary noted that Burry's view is that today's AI darlings are overpriced, not necessarily broken businesses. That distinction matters. He's not saying the engine is fake, he's saying the hood ornament is costing more than the rest of the car. This is the core of the AI bubble correction risk. If enthusiasm for AI cools, the market usually does not politely trim valuations. It tends to grab a baseball bat and smash the multiple first, ask questions later. Reuters has also noted that AI may be both a breakthrough and a bubble, and that stretched valuations can leave even strong businesses with share prices that take years to recover if growth slows. In other words, if the AI trade loses steam, Palantir could fall even if revenue is still rising because the stock is partly powered by sentiment and not just fundamentals. This is an inference, but it is a very reasonable one given how the company trades and how Burry has positioned himself. Think of it like this: Palantir is riding a giant parade float labeled AI, and Burry is on the curb saying that float is beautiful, but the road might end in a ditch. If AI remains the market's favorite theme, the float keeps rolling. If the crowd gets tired, multiple compression can happen fast. That is the uncomfortable truth sitting behind the bullish story. Now, AI's value score framework is not subtle. It combines valuation in 6 measures and calling it an ultra-expensive label, and the valuation alarm is screaming, not whispering. The 6 valuation measures combined include priced sales, priced earnings, EV/EBITDA, shareholder yield, price to book, and price to free cash flow. It then ranks stocks on each matrix, averages those ranks, and sorts them into quintiles from cheapest to most expensive. Palantir's result is brutal. Value score 1, value grade F, and ultra-expensive label. Its reported figure include a price-to-sales ratio of 62.13, a price-to-earnings ratio of 153.8, EV/EBITDA of 120.2, price to book of 38.89, and price to free cash flow of 121.1. That's not a valuation, that is a dare. This is why valuation-focused investors keep squinting at Palantir like they just saw the receipt for a very fancy dinner. AI's framework is basically saying that on a broad cross-section of standard valuation metrics, Palantir sits in the most expensive corner of the market, not just a bit rich, but we may need to call the chef and ask what exactly is plated in gold. And to be fair, the company's quality is real. The whole point of the valuation warning is not that Palantir is junk. It is that even excellent businesses can become awkward investments if the price assumes perfection for a very long time. AI's score is a reminder that quality and valuation are different animals. One can be outstanding while the other remains wildly unhelpful. Then the pension fund pressure when the buyer base gets politically messy. Another reason Palantir keeps attracting headlines is that ownership is not just about returns anymore. It is also about politics, ethics, and public pressure. In April 2026, reports said ABP, the Netherlands' largest pension fund, diversified more than 800 million euros in Palantir shares after criticism tied to the company's work and an investigation that intensified public scrutiny. That is meaningful because large funds do not usually move like startled cats unless the reputational temperature gets hot enough. The larger point is that Palantir has become a lightning rod. Reporting in March and April 2026 described public pension exposure to Palantir in multiple U.S. states and noted beneficiary pressure in places like California, Maine, New Jersey, New York, and Oregon. In New Jersey, for example, advocates and lawmakers pressured the state's pension system to rethink Palantir exposure, and a congressional letter in February 2026 explicitly raised concerns about the company's contracts and the state pensions holdings. That does not mean a flood of forced selling is guaranteed, but it does mean the stock can face a non-trivial background harm of institutional discomfort. That matters because in a stock like Palantir, perception can become part of the valuation story. When a company is expensive, widely discussed, and politically controversial, every headline matters a lot. Even if the exact dollar amount of future selling is hard to measure, the existence of sustained pressure from beneficiaries and large pensions can make investors less comfortable owning the stock at premium multiples. It is like trying to hold a glass of water while someone keeps bumping the table. The water may not spill immediately, but everyone is tense. Why the stock still is not in the bargain bin. Now let's talk about the price in a more conventional way, because Palantir is still not cheap by almost any normal definition. A recent monthly full analysis said the stock trades at a forward price to sales ratio of 40.5 times 2026 analyst estimates and about 28 times 2027 estimates. Those are lower than where they were when the stock was at peak excitement, but they are still towering numbers for a company that already has a very large market cap. That's the key tension. On one hand, the multiple is easier to stomach if you believe Palantir can keep compounding revenue at an exceptional pace for years. On the other hand, the forward PS ratio above 40 is not the sort of number that says discovery phase. It says the market has already done some of the celebrating for you. If growth slows even a little due to some issues like ethical issues, valuation can deflate faster than a balloon at a birthday party where the crown is underperforming. That's why Palantir often behaves like a stock with a built-in debate club. The business can post a monster quarter and still leave investors arguing about whether the price is ahead of itself. Reuters reported that even after the latest strong update, the stock still traded at a very rich forward earnings multiple, and the market's reaction showed that investors are highly sensitive to whether growth can continue justifying that premium. Remember, God loves you and gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Put God first in everything. See you then.